Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. Did you know that one of my most favorite things is answering your questions? If you have ever had a question, if you've wondered if I've done an episode on a topic before, or if you've looked and have not found an episode on a topic you're thinking of, I would love to know that. Send me an email, Christina@ChristinaJoyCoaching.com. I would love to answer your specific question in a podcast episode. So today is going to be one of those. It actually comes from a dear friend that I am working with, and she asked me this question: can I actually be close to people who don't know that I had an affair? Because it feels like there's this huge part of me that I'm keeping hidden. And it's not a small part. It's the thing that changed everything about my life. So how am I supposed to be real with someone when the biggest thing about me is off the table? It's out of the discussion. And so I want to answer that today, honestly, including the part of the answer that might feel a little uncomfortable. Do you ever find yourself Googling, how do I stop thinking about him? Or have you ever started your day determined to keep no contact, only to feel pulled right back into the same patterns and shame? Welcome to Intimacy After Infidelity. You're not crazy for feeling this way. I'm Christina Joy, and I've been exactly where you are. I know what it feels like to be overwhelmed by shame and wonder if dignity and peace are actually possible for you. I tried to fix myself by trying harder and committing to more self-control, but what I actually needed was healing from Jesus, who met me in the middle of it all. And that's what this podcast is here to help you do too. In this space, we heal the soul, heart, mind, and body, and we talk about the real things like longing, grief, shame, and confusion. So take a deep breath, friend. You are safe here. Hey friend, before we jump into this, I want to offer you something. I know that there is a specific kind of loneliness when you're in a room full of people who love you and you know that not one of them has the whole picture of who you are or where you've been. And I know you're not lying to them. You're not doing anything wrong. And yet you're still doing the math in your head about how much of yourself is available to be in this conversation. Friend, I know that that is an exhausting way to live, and it's hard to explain to someone who hasn't been there and done that. And in 4 more weeks, there is a room where that stops. It's the Encounter Retreat coming up on September 25th in Florida, where I am hosting 10 women in a just beautiful, luxurious, safe beach house. 3 days where it's all inclusive and you don't have to edit yourself or manage anyone else's reaction to your story, where there is no part of you that needs to hide, and where, in a real sense, the whole thing is already known before you even walk in. And so you can spend your energy on encountering the living God instead of your own carefulness. Friend, email me the word retreat and let's talk about it, whether or not September is your time. Okay, so I told you I want to answer this specific question today, and let me repeat it back because I think it's actually 2 questions stacked on top of each other. The first question is, can this friendship be real if she doesn't know my full story? And then I think there's a second question underneath that. Am I being fake? Am I doing something wrong by not telling her? And those actually need different answers. So let's take that apart. Here's the distinction I want you to carry after this episode. A very specific distinction between secrecy and privacy. Let's define secrecy for a second. This is driven by shame. Secrecy and shame are meant to isolate you. The engine underneath all of this is, man, if they knew, they would leave. And so you hide because hiding protects you in the short term. but it slowly swallows you in the long term. Secrecy does not feel like a decision. It actually feels more like survival. Okay, however, privacy is a little bit different, and it's a boundary that you actually choose from a settled, grounded place. It's not fear, it's discernment, possibly wisdom. Okay, a mental picture I use for this is like a neighborhood. You and I can be neighbors, good ones. We wave, we talk over the fence, we know each other's kids' names, we show up when something hard happens. It's a real relationship. And I still get to decide what kinds of things I keep inside my house and whether or not I invite you into my house. Not because I'm ashamed of what's in there, but because it is mine. And access to that is something that I give. It's not just automatically owed. So that's what boundaries are. It's knowing where I end and where you begin. And not everyone gets access to every part of my life. In fact, think about the opposite. A woman with no boundaries isn't more loving. She's just more available and eventually depleted. So, no, you are not being fake in any kind of way by not sharing your story with every person in your life. However, choosing what to share is actually stewardship. It is wise. You are stewarding your story. Now, let me show you my own map here. I want to talk a little like concrete because I think it helps to see how this actually plays out over the years. So here's my map of like how I told people about my story early on. Okay, the day that I confessed my affair to my husband, his first call was to his sister. He also came to me and said, "Hey, can we agree that right now in this moment, we're not going to tell either of our parents?" And so, yeah, we both honored that. I just asked him for one thing. I said, "Can you just let me know before you tell anybody?" I'm not saying, no, don't share the story. Just let me know so that I know who knows. Do you follow that? And he was really respectful about it. He always asked first, and I always said yes. Now, on my side, at that point, the only people who knew that I had had the affair were my counselor and the coaches from the retreat. And then, soon after, my husband and I talked openly with our pastor and his wife together. So over the next month or so, I did tell one or two friends from the church pretty vaguely, like they knew what was going on. I didn't go into every single detail, but I told them enough. They knew something was going on specifically in my marriage. But what I want to mention here is that I did not tell my mom for several years. And in those years, of course, I still talked with my mom. I saw her regularly, still loved her, still had a relationship with her. And I talked about God's goodness, and I talked about marriage being hard. And so we still had real conversations about real things, just not that very specific thing. And I also never told my coworkers, even ones that I've had these last several years. And so I just want you to know what that was like, because this is the part that answers that question. Those relationships, even for a season, were different. They were not bad. They were not fake. They were just different because I was always aware that there was a part of me they didn't have. There are still people at my church that I love dearly, and they still don't know the full story. I'm not hiding anything. If they stumble upon this podcast, that would be amazing, and they'd hear the whole thing. It's just not the story that I lead with when I meet a new person on Sunday morning. Okay, now here's where I have to tell you the truth, even though it might be uncomfortable or not easy. Can you maintain a genuine best friendship, like the deepest tier, the person who knows you? Can you have a best friendship and not tell her? Honestly, I'm not so sure that that's going to hold up for much longer. Part of the reason is because I believe relationships are built on being fully known and fully loved, both. And if you know there's a part that you are intentionally withholding, that changes the status of the friendship. Again, not into something false. I would still say you're friends, but it's like there's a limit or a ceiling now that wasn't there before. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 13 that now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. Now, that's about eternity, but look at what he assumes about us. Being fully known is the thing that we're aching towards. It's the whole direction of the human heart. So, when you feel that ache, that, man, there's a wall here, I feel it, that's not you being dramatic. That's the part of you that was made for this face-to-face registering, that you're still in the mirror dimly version with someone that you love. And can I also encourage you, that ache is honest. So don't argue with it. You're longing for more, for better, for deeper. And also, the answer to that ache is not just to go tell everyone your whole story. The answer is actually make sure that somebody has the whole thing. So this is where I draw it, and it's the thing that I want you to take with you today. You do not have to tell everyone your story, but you do have to tell someone. If there is not a single person in your life who has the entire story, that's not privacy. That's actually hiding, just wearing different clothes. But if you do have at least one or two safe people who know you and know your story, then everything else genuinely is discernment. Your coworker might not need it. The woman 2 rows back at church might not need it. Your extended family may never need it. And that's not avoidance. That's a life with normal, healthy boundaries in it. I told my counselor long before I told anyone else. Long before. And I want to name what was actually happening in that season. I was exercising a muscle because, believe it or not, truth telling is a muscle and it starts small. Every time I said the true thing out loud to someone safe and the world didn't end, that muscle got a little bit stronger. And it strengthened in a controlled environment, in this counseling room or in the retreat room, in a community that was built to hold that kind of story. And so I was exercising this muscle before I ever tried it in a friendship where the stakes were higher. And let me also just remind you, that's not being coward. That's how strength is built. Nobody starts with the heaviest weight in the room, but you start small and you build up to it. So if your best friend doesn't feel safe enough to hold this story right now, okay. Maybe she is, but maybe she isn't. Maybe the timing isn't right now. And so either way, you're not stuck because you're practicing honesty somewhere else while you figure out what to do with your best friend. Appropriate and healthy timing is everything. And waiting for the right timing is not the same as never telling her anything. All right, so here's something practical, because there is a lot of room still between saying nothing and saying all of it. Okay, here's an idea. Say something true that maybe isn't the whole story. Okay, you're not putting up a smoke screen. You're not deflecting any questions. What I want to encourage you to do is to say something genuinely honest and offer it to the person that's asking the question. Offer it at a depth that you are comfortable with. So here's a couple ideas. yeah, I went through something a few years ago that just broke me open, and I'm still rebuilding with God's help. Or, wow, God has been so loving and faithful to me in the middle of some really hard years. Or, yeah, girl, me too. Marriage can be a struggle. I know ours has been. Or, yeah, I'm still learning what it looks like to lean on God in any kind of temptation. Every one of those is completely true, and none of them is the whole story. All of them create actual intimacy, because what makes a conversation intimate isn't the volume of information, it's whether you showed up as a real person in it. And so this is kind of how I talked to my mom for a couple years. Real conversations, real faith, real struggle, just not all the specifics right away. And so I'll tell you what I noticed. People don't usually need all the details to feel close to you. They just need to feel like they're talking to someone who's actually there. A vague answer delivered with your whole heart lands warmer than a detailed answer that's just delivered from behind glass. So, can you be truly close to people who don't know? Close, yes. Genuinely, warmly, meaningfully close. Of course, that's available to you in almost every relationship in your life. But will you be closest with those people? Probably not. And friend, I would rather tell you the truth than just hand you a nice answer that's going to help you feel better. But you're not choosing between hiding forever or telling everybody. You can build a life with layers in it. A few people in the house, more people in the neighborhood, and no shame attached to wherever people land in your boundaries. You are the woman who's learning where she ends and other people begin, who tells the truth, at least somewhere. And you are a woman who isn't performing closeness, but you're also not hiding from closeness either. You're finding how to show up authentically and honestly. That's not a compromise. Sister, that is a really healthy life. And so, can I invite you into one step, even specifically this week? Can you name one relationship where you want more closeness with someone? Just one. Maybe it's a friend, a family member, someone at church. And then ask yourself, what is one true thing that I could share with this person that isn't necessarily the whole story? Not the whole thing, just one true statement with one safe person. And then actually go say it to that person this week. You know, even last night in my group coaching call, we were talking about building self-trust. And how can you learn to trust yourself again? By doing what you say you're going to do. And here's an example of that. Connect with one person this week. I would love to hear how it went for you. Were you nervous? Did they respond in a way that you expected, or did they surprise you? Friend, email me at Christina@ChristinaJoyCoaching.com. I love hearing these stories of how things are going for you and how I can continue to support you and encourage you and cheer you on. And also, friend, if you've got to the end of this episode and realized maybe there's not anyone that you feel like can hold your whole story, friend, that's the thing to change first. Would you even consider emailing me? And let's just talk about who that person could be for you. Also, that's exactly what a breakthrough coaching call is for. That is what this season is for you. God, you know all of it, and you stayed. So, Father, would you give my sister one safe person to talk to? And would you give her courage for one true sentence this week? Let her be known and deeply loved. In Jesus' name, amen.